lockdown for 2 or 3 weeks. And I couldn't believe it today when I took a look, and just because I hadn't paid that much attention. I have been very busy since the last time I was on camera. I have been repeatedly, I've been iron heated in fire and pounded to become a fine sword. You know, as they say, worthies and sages are tested by abuse. So I've had plenty of abuse since the last time I saw you. I've also manifest supernatural powers from my life, not from something outside of myself, that absolutely tell me that the way I look at things and the manner in which I'm able to access what I know I am is a wonderful thing that I hope I can continue to share to the last moment of my life. I think it's my duty to do so. I have overcome the devil of death on several occasions in the last few weeks, and I'm sorry that we've been gone so long. I know some of you really kind of count on us being there every week or when we're supposed to be, so I apologize if our absence has created any kind of a difficulty for anybody. I haven't anybody write to me on Old Soup, so I assume you're all okay and you're getting along without me. I hope so. I hope everybody's good. We're all good. Let's get started. We're now going to read Study Chief Saito's lecture on the true aspect of all phenomena. And like I said, there are 4 of these pamphlets, and it almost seems like Study Chief Saito was given the task to express certain Gosho teachings that are a little more technically difficult. And so subsequently, I want to explain that this is the case in all of Daisaku Ikeda's writings, and it's the case in most everything you read, especially the Gosho. There are several different levels one might read what they're reading, and they can read the same words, and there's a deeper meaning that you don't grasp at first, or maybe because somebody hasn't pointed it out to you, that you do grasp more differently and more deeply the next time and the next time and the next time.
Yes.
So this is it's a process, actually. You can never just study and stop, or study and that meant you knew everything, because this isn't about taking a test and knowing what to write in the answer line. This is really how you conduct your life. Are you the Buddha, or are you just talking? Okay, so this is really about the reality of whether that is the case, whether you're really the Buddha or whether you're just talking. Because you can be just talking and look like you're playing the part, and it won't be real, and it won't be there when you need it to be. Okay, and you won't end up attaining Buddhahood in your present form, because being the Buddha is attaining Buddhahood in your present form. So here we go. This starts out on page 7, okay? And so it starts with background. This Gosho, the true aspect of all phenomena, had I continued it last month as we were supposed to before COVID, it's been 748 years since this Gosho was written. It was written in May of 1273. So background starts out on page 7. In May 1273, Nichiren Daishonin wrote the true aspect of all phenomena to Sairin-bo, who had become a disciple on Sado Island, where Nichiren, at 52, was living at Ichinosawa. Sairin-bo had asked Nichiren about the meaning of the true entity of all phenomena in the Lotus Sutra's Expedient Means chapter. This letter was Nichiren's written response. In the postscript of this letter, Nichiren writes, "Those doctrines I have revealed to you in this particular letter are very important." So he's already identified them. If he's identified them to Sairin-bo as important, they're definitely important to us as Bodhisattvas of the earth living in the latter day. He says, "I have given you the teachings that concern myself." So again, you can read this from the perspective of what the words say, or you can read this from the perspective of what the Daishonin's true intent was, which he says in the postscript. These teachings, okay, I have revealed to you in this particular letter are very important. I have given you the teachings that concern myself. By all means, keep this letter to yourself. I have herein committed to writing the doctrines of my own enlightenment. Now understand, though, that in saying that, this is the doctrine of our enlightenment as well. Okay? So the same thing that Nichiren is explaining to Sairin-bo he manifests is the same thing we're challenged to have to manifest in our own lives. That's what makes us really true Buddhists, not people that call themselves Buddhists. All right? He says that he continues on page 7. And I'm sorry, we seem to be having some serious problems with the camera shaking around. This letter explains Nichiren's essential teachings in terms of both doctrine and practice. Let's keep this in mind as we study the foundation of Nichiren Buddhism as expressed in the true aspect of all phenomena. The greatest characteristics of Nichiren Buddhism are its emphasis on the concept of attaining Buddhahood in one's present form and its method to achieve this. So what did it just say? It said the greatest characteristics of Nichiren Buddhism are its emphasis on the concept of attaining Buddhahood in one's present form and its method to achieve this. So it's not about, its greatest emphasis is on attaining benefit in your daily life. Okay? That's what I'm trying to get to. This is about the depths of the truth of who you are, which is a Bodhisattva of the earth, which means benefits in your daily life is chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo and being the Buddha that you are. He goes on to say, human revolution, which we've all heard a million times, used in a million different ways, frankly. Human revolution, which is the foundation for all positive transformations, the driving force is the modern equivalent of attaining Buddhahood in one's present form. Now that doctrinal concept is actually derived from Daisaku Ikeda, from the Soka Gakkai. Okay, you won't find that necessarily someplace else because this is really an outflow of Josei Toda's Buddhahood. Okay, you're the Buddha already exactly as you are. You are a Bodhisattva of the earth. That's where all this understanding comes from. That's where all this empowerment comes from. That's why this is the foundation of correct faith. He says, human revolution, which is the foundation for all positive transformations, the driving force is the modern equivalent of attaining Buddhahood in one's present form. And that's actually first stated in a dialogue between President Ikeda and Dr. Aurelio Pesci, published in the book Before It Is Too Late. The process of attaining Buddhahood in one's present form, or undergoing one's human revolution, gives rise to the issues of reforming reality, to such concepts as establishing the correct teaching for the peace of the land and the widespread propagation or Kosen Rufu. So I wanted to touch on that a little more deeply because he just said, well, I could just read that out loud again to you and you probably might not get what he's actually saying. Because quite often we hear human revolution as being some life condition or life state or life circumstance change, like going from sad to happy or poor to having means or sick to healthy. Those are the kinds of things that many people tell stories of human revolution over. But in reality, what human revolution really is replacing delusion with Buddhahood. All right? The going from not understanding the truth to understanding the truth. And those experiences are what's supposed to drive you to that point, because that all involves becoming a bodhisattva as it relates to devoting your life to Kosen Rufu. That's really what it's all about. That's the difference. Do you practice for yourself or do you practice as a disciple of Nichiren Daishonin? That's the bottom line. All members of the Soka Gakkai, frankly, are to be practicing as disciples of Nichiren Daishonin. We do talk about master-disciple relationship and mentor-disciple relationship and apply it where it's meant to be applied, where it has meaning, because that's the case. But in terms of the original state, and the original teacher, and the original disciples, we're bodhisattvas of the earth. We're the original disciples of the original teacher. Going on page 8. Sairin-bo, who this letter was written to, is thought to have been a student priest of the Tendai school from Kyoto. For reasons unknown, he had been exiled to Sado around the same time as Nichiren. Sairin-bo was probably about the same age as Nichiren or a little older. He seems to have become Nichiren's disciple around February of the previous year, 1272. In January 1272, Nichiren had a debate in front of his hut at Tsukahara. In this Tsukahara debate, Nichiren defeated believers of the Pure Land school living on Sado. As a result, his name gained recognition. I think we all know that story about how they all came to debate him, and he kicked everybody's ass, okay? And that was the point in time when the governor of the island said to the mainland, I think you better get this priest out of here because somebody might kill him and he's a spooky guy. I don't think we probably should do that. So at any rate, Nichiren defeated believers of the Pure Land school living on Sado. As a result, his name gained recognition. Sairin-bo likely met Nichiren at the Tsukahara debate and took faith in his teaching because of its profundity, as well as because of Nichiren's humanistic character. He wasn't a fake dude. He was really there to achieve Kosen-rufu. That's the way we're supposed to all be. Real people. While Nichiren was on Sado, Sairin-bo received many important letters from him in addition to the true aspect of all phenomena. So this should tell you that this dude's a heavy dude because he got some serious, heavy doctrinal writings written to him, including The Heritage of the Ultimate Law of Life, On Prayer, which is a dynamite goshen I'm going to read to you someday, and The Enlightenment of Plants, because we're all living beings. Because Sairin-bo was a learned priest with a profound understanding of Buddhism, something that many of us don't have as we begin studying, the letters Nichiren wrote him contain many essential teachings because he was the only one capable of grasping them at a level that Nichiren could trust and entrust them to as straight up without trying to candy coat it. He converted to Nichiren's teachings at the time when many of Nichiren's followers had renounced their faith, and in a short time his affinity for his mentor deepened. Don't forget, he met him on Sado Island. Nichiren Daishonen's been preaching his teaching for many years already, okay, and has now been punished by the government for being a troublemaker and somebody that's creating disunity in society. And that's why he's been exiled as this terrible person that must go to this remote island of Sado to live out his days in exile. He's not allowed to be around all the people of the regular islands of Japan. Okay? And so, again, this would have been a very difficult time at a point in time where Nietzsche has been discredited by the government. Nietzsche himself has reaccredited himself to this learned priest on Sado Island who can tell the government must be wrong about this guy because he knows stuff nobody I ever talked to knows and understands and explains it in a way that makes it a clear understanding that this is correct. All right? So he says, he converted to Nichiren's teachings at a time when many of Nichiren's followers had renounced their faith, and in a short time his affinity for his mentor deepened. Perhaps for this reason, Nichiren felt an unusual karmic relationship with Sairin-bo. Sairin-bo, who was frail, tended to focus more on study than practice. Nichiren encouraged him, however, to exert himself more in practice and propagation than on doctrine. Nichiren's letters to Sairin-bo often stress the deep tie between doctrine and practice. It can't be one or the other. It's got to be both equally. After Nichiren was pardoned from his exile to Sado, it seems that Sairin-bo also returned to Kyoto. While the details of his life remain unknown, he likely maintained faith while learning from Nichiren at Minobu. Key points from page 9. The true aspect of all phenomena is the law to which the Buddha awakened. In other words, one can attain Buddhahood by understanding this law. For this reason, the Expedient Means chapter states, the true entity of all phenomena can only be understood and shared between Buddhas. Why? Because understanding that, sharing that, qualifies you as being a thus come one. All right? It says there are, but then Mr. Saito puts in the caveat to qualify this. He says, there are many kinds of awakening or realization. You may think that you've finally got it, only to chant and practice and, oh, now I get it. Only to chant and practice and go, but now I really get it. It will morph and continue to grow. It's supposed to do that throughout your life, frankly. Okay? So it's never a point where I got it. I had the realization. I know it all now. I don't have to do anything else to advance. No. You must advance by sharing what you know with others. And you must share it correctly. You can't make it seem like it's anything from you, because it isn't. All right? For example, there is the realization of the impermanence of all things, which is the awakening sought by those of the two vehicles. From this truth, they reason that people suffer from attachments to things that are bound to change. So the path to liberation from this suffering, they thought, could be found in eradicating earthly desires and achieving a state of serenity, like that ashram I'm always joking Madame Monique about. This is the earlier Buddhist view of enlightenment. That's not our view of enlightenment as Nichiren Buddhists, as disciples of the true Buddha Nichiren, as members of the Soka Gakkai, as disciples of Daisaku Ikeda, and the Buddhism of sowing, most importantly. In contrast, Mahayana Buddhism regards that the true enlightenment or awakening of a Buddha as the wisdom to understand the truth of all phenomena. When at last, the concept of the 10 factors in the Expedient Means chapter explains how a Buddha sees the true aspect of all phenomena. And once again, the Lifespan chapter also explains that thus come one perceives the true aspect of the threefold world exactly as it is. So this truth of Nichiren's teachings for the latter day is already initiated in statements that are made in the Lotus Sutra, but the law to which we're supposed to do this, that the Lotus Sutra is talking about, is never referred to. It's never qualified. Okay? It's always qualified as something that you should probably know. Don't you know? Or it's not time yet. All right? The fifth 500-year period is when the Lotus Sutra says it's going to actually be revealed. Okay? So, he says, the concept of the 10 factors in the Expedient Means chapters explains how a Buddha sees the true aspect of all phenomena. The Lifespan chapter also explains that thus come one perceives the true aspect of the threefold world exactly as it is. This view of wisdom gives rise to the idea that a state of genuine peace and happiness can be achieved through transforming earthly desires into wisdom rather than eradicating them, rather than the view of going for the ashram state. No. It's having the peace of mind of knowing the truth and what you're experiencing and why. Because you wouldn't trade that for any relief at all. I mean, I don't mind what I go through being who I am because I get to be who I am. I wouldn't trade that for anything. This view of wisdom gives rise to the idea that a state of genuine peace and happiness can be achieved through transforming earthly desires into wisdom rather than eradicating them. This principle is called earthly desires are enlightenment. All right? We might consider the earlier view of enlightenment as a negative approach to earthly desires since it seeks to eliminate them. The Mahayana view of enlightenment, in contrast, may be described as a transformative approach as it seeks to change earthly desires into wisdom. You keep the earthly desires, but you have the wisdom to perceive what they truly are. And when they're good, like I need to eat or sleep, and when they aren't. And we won't get into that. All right? It's about attaining Buddhahood and Buddha wisdom in your present form. He continues on page 10. The true aspect of all phenomena represents this Mahayana view of enlightenment, When people realize the true aspect of all phenomena, they will no longer be attached to the partial truth of impermanence. While understanding impermanence, they need not take a negative approach to their earthly desires. Who put them there? You did. You're the one that made all the desires that affect you are from your own causes.
Right.
All right? If you're the Buddha, you created those desires for the sake of revealing them in their true aspect in your life as a living being. Who has attained Buddhahood? Who's proving that other living beings that are considered common mortals and not capable, they can all be Buddhists. We can all be Buddhists. Cut yourself some slack is the bottom line. I'll say it again. The true aspect of all phenomena represents this Mahayana view of enlightenment. When people realize the true aspect of all phenomena, they will no longer be attached to the partial truth of impermanence. You know, ridiculous things that don't matter. While understanding impermanence, they need not take a negative approach to their earthly desires, for they are aware of the fundamental law that embraces all life and sustains all phenomena, which are in a constant state of flux. No matter what anything else is, it's all Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. So I mean, once you realize it's all Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, then it's all Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. So it's really nothing to be perplexed about. He says, this is from the Gosho that we've already read. He says, all beings and environments in the 10 worlds, from hell the lowest to Buddhahood the highest, are without exception manifestations of Myoho Renge-kyo, are manifestations of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. All right? All phenomena, Mr. Saito goes on to continue on page 11, all phenomena are the ultimate reality or true aspect, Myoho Renge-kyo. All right? What did I just say? All phenomena are. Now, I'm the one that has circled R and M emphasizing it. He just says all phenomena are the ultimate reality or the true aspect, Myoho Renge-kyo. That you could read that and not really think about it and have it roll off of you. But what is it really saying? All phenomena are the ultimate reality or the true aspect, Myoho Renge-kyo. All phenomena, the birds, the bees, the plants, the planet, the solar system, the universe, the multi-universes, everything is Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. That's what that just said. All beings and environments in the 10 worlds, from hell the lowest to Buddhahood the highest, corresponds to all phenomena, Mr. Saito says. That means everything, everywhere. Everywhere. The concept of the 10 worlds, which Tentai brought forth from the concept from the 10 factors, explains all possible states of life. The concept of the 10 worlds explains all possible states of life. There's nothing outside of that. Nyose-so, Nyose-sho, and the 10 worlds that are therefore reflected. A being refers to life or a subjective self and its environment to an objective realm. The expression all beings and environments in the 10 worlds signifies all phenomena, everything, including life, that appears in the universe. Everything in the universe, Nichiren says, is a manifestation of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, of Myoho Renge-kyo, of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. So, because again, he's talking to Sairin-bo, and again, he hasn't said, by the way, I'm the true Buddha, I'm the eternal Buddha. So that's what Sairin-bo's got to divine from this that we all do too. All right, let me go back to this. A being refers to a life or a subjective self. What would that then qualify? That would qualify something with mind, right? Animals, birds, everything that has life, that reacts to its environment. That's a subjective self. It sees everything from its subjective perspective, okay? And its environment is an objective realm. It's seen as something fixed. Do you understand? Where the subjective self is in flux. The expression all beings and environments in the 10 worlds signifies, therefore, all phenomena. That's why I'm saying all environments, all things that occupy the environments, no matter what they are. So I'm trying to clarify, this is without exception. Everything is Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Thus, from the Gosho, thus the entire realm of phenomena is no different than the 5 characters of Myoho Renge-kyo. 5 or 7 characters of Myoho Renge-kyo. No different than Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Here, continuing on page 11, the realm of phenomena refers to everything, to the whole universe. In its true aspect, every phenomena is a manifestation of Myoho Renge-kyo. This fundamental law is Myoho Renge-kyo. It gives rise to life and death, to formation and disappearance, to cause and effect. It is the law of the simultaneity of cause and effect. Even the two, and this is going back to the Gosho again, even on page 11, bottom, from page 383 of Writings in Nichiren Daishonin, even the 2 Buddhas, Shakyamuni and Many Treasures, in performing the function of the benefit of the 5 characters of Myoho Renge-kyo, manifested themselves as the 2 Buddhas and seated together in the treasure tower, knotted in mutual agreement. President Study Chief Saito goes on. This is so important because this is the whole deal. Those who realize that their lives are the entities of the law of Myoho Renge-kyo, those who realize that their lives are the entities of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo are called Buddhas, period. The powers of a Buddha, expounded in the various sutras, are the unlimited powers of Myoho Renge-kyo manifested through enlightened wisdom. So those are embellishments of the potentiality each one of us possess. We all have the ability to manifest supernatural powers, just like those crazy dudes in the sutras. I do it myself personally, and I'm not afraid to say I can because I've got witnesses. Okay, so again, what does Study Chief Saito say? Not Tom divining all this. This is Mr. Saito and President Ikeda's teaching. For this reason, those who realize that their lives are the entities of the law of Myoho Renge-kyo are called Buddhas. The powers of a Buddha expounded in the various sutras are the unlimited powers of Myoho Renge-kyo, manifested through enlightened wisdom. So if you're the Buddha, you have access to bring forth this power. For this reason, Shakyamuni and many, but are you the Buddha? Just because you say you are, just because you claim it, because the Gosho says only, let's get into that. That's what the rest of what I'm going to read about. It's the difference between talking about it and being it. For this reason, Shakyamuni and Many Treasures, 2 Buddhas seated together in the treasure tower at the Lotus Sutra ceremony in the air, represent the functions of Myoho Renge-kyo that benefit all living beings. Myoho Renge-kyo is the entity or essence. Shakyamuni and Many Treasures are its functions or manifestations. So it tells you that the entity is not Shakyamuni. Straight up. Okay? So we're clear on that, right? This isn't about the former or the middle day of the law. This is about the latter day of the law, folks. Nichiren continues that he is the first person to reveal Myoho Renge-kyo. Has he revealed Myoho Renge-kyo for the first time? Is he the first person to reveal Myoho Renge-kyo? No! That's the title of the Lotus Sutra. He's the first person to reveal Nam-myoho Renge-kyo and the correct teaching that unlocks Myoho Renge-kyo from the former and the middle day as a reference in the Lotus Sutra to the actualization of actual Ichinen Sanzen as a Buddha in your present form, which is the whole deal. We get to be real Buddhists. We're not fake Buddhas. We're not ornamental Buddhas that are there to encourage out of grandiosity and superiority. We are the same. We are equal. We are stayed by the 5 impurities, and we are freaking powerful. Okay?
Yes.
So powerful we can do Kosen Rufu. Let me keep going. Shakyamuni and Many Treasures are its functions or manifestations. Nichiren continues that he is the first person to reveal Myoho Renge-kyo as the source of the powers, of a Buddha and the fundamental law. And also not only revealing the source of the powers, but also the fundamental law. of the universe. Where do the Buddhas get what's the source of the powers of the Buddhas in the universe? The fundamental law of the universe. What's the fundamental law of the universe? Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Okay, so now let me read that again. Nichiren continues that he is the first person to reveal Nam-myoho Renge-kyo as the source of the powers of a Buddha and the fundamental law of the universe, and the first to give concrete form to the ceremony of the two Buddhas seated side by side in the treasure tower as the Gohonzon. With these explanations, he clarifies that Myoho Renge-kyo is the great law to be propagated by the Bodhisattvas of the earth in the latter day of the law, which is what I'm doing, which is what we're all supposed to be doing. Therefore, this goes back to the Gosho, the two Buddhas, Shakyamuni and many treasures, are Buddhas who are functions of Myoho Renge-kyo. It is Myoho Renge-kyo that is the true Buddha. The non-Myoho Renge-kyo thus come one that I am. That's the true Buddha. The non-Myoho Renge-kyo thus come one that you are. That's the true Buddha. He's saying it is Myoho Renge-kyo that is the true Buddha. A common mortal is an entity of the three bodies. Okay, what are the three bodies? The Dharma body, the reward body, and the manifest body. Okay? True Buddhists. Oh, he says that, doesn't he? He says, a common mortal is an entity of the three bodies and a true Buddha. I am a true Buddha. A Buddha is a function. Those Buddhas that you read about that are supernatural and not the same as you as a living being, a common mortal that manifests the true nature of their life. They are provisional. A Buddha is a function of the three bodies and a provisional Buddha. Nichiren explains that Mr. Saito goes on. Nichiren explains that an ordinary person is a true Buddha and that Shakyamuni and many treasures, the Buddhas integral to the preaching of the Lotus Sutra, represent only functions of Myoho Renge-kyo. Even Shakyamuni and many treasures are provisional Buddhas. Even Shakyamuni and many treasures are provisional Buddhas. This is an epoch-making teaching. Why? Because it just suddenly we're equal to all those guys that have no peers. The whole teaching of Buddhism is these Buddhas that are so freaking fabulous. We can't get close to them anywhere in this lifetime. This is the epoch-making teaching. Qualifying, those are an illusion. What you experience is reality. Okay? He says, usually a religion, and this is the truth, it's always got a God. They always got a higher power that's something outside of yourself that's saving you, that you pray to. He's saying, I got to get a drink here, sorry, hang on. Usually a religion teaches the salvation of ordinary people through the great power of a God or Buddha or some other transcendent entity. Yeah. But the Lotus Sutra and Nichiren Buddhism explain that even the great power of a Buddha is the functioning of Myoho Renge-kyo, is the functioning of the law that governs all things. Yes. Because ordinary people are entities of Myoho Renge-kyo, which is the essence of a Buddha's great power. Ordinary people are true Buddhas. Here, Nichiren clarifies that the power that saves ordinary people exists within the lives of ordinary people, not outside their life. No one can be excluded. It's what life is, right? So again, going back to the Gosho, Nichiren alone took the lead in carrying out the task of the Bodhisattvas of the earth. He may even be one of them. You know, you can see how he's kind of like buffing this out for Sairin-bo to not freak him out. I mean, who says they're a Bodhisattva of the earth? We already know that. We're talking about, superior practices and boundless practices and whatever. Pure practices, okay? No. You're a regular person. What are you talking about? Okay. Right. Nichiren alone took the lead in carrying out the task of the Bodhisattvas of the earth. He may even be one of them. If Nichiren is to be counted among the Bodhisattvas of the earth, then so must his disciples and lay supporters. Okay? It's there. It's on the surface. Goes on to continue, Nichiren suggests that since he propagates the great law that enables all people to attain Buddhahood, he assumes the role of Bodhisattva superior practice as the leader of the Bodhisattvas of the earth. He assures his disciples and supporters that they are also Bodhisattvas of the earth. He then encourages Sairin-bo to dedicate his life to Kosen Rufu with the same mind as Nichiren, because that's the only way to get there. Because we're talking about the transformation, the human revolution that President Ikeda referred to earlier, Study Chief Saito referred to, that's referred to in SGI all the time. That's what that is. That's the attainment of Buddhahood in your present form, because you are doing the things that a Buddha does, and you perceive the truth that your mission is Kosen Rufu. You're a Bodhisattva of the earth. You're not just living out another existence. You're on a mission. That means you've got a task to accomplish in the time you're here. Nichiren, okay,
yes,
right?
Yes.
He says, the leader, he assures his disciples and lay supporters that they are also Bodhisattvas of the earth. He also encourages Sairin-bo to dedicate his life to Kosen Rufu with the same mind as Nichiren, with a sense of mission as a Bodhisattva of the earth. Exactly what Josei Toda awakened to. Nichiren expresses his conviction that the mystic law will spread in the future so that all people will chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, although he alone first propagated it. Okay? And he's on exile in Sado Island. In exile on Sado Island. And he's convinced that this is going to spread throughout the world. And shit, what do you do when it really has? And you got a white guy talking to you about this stuff that happened in May of 1273. Okay? Okay. He says, again, he alone first propagated it, continuing and finishing page 14, the true aspect of all phenomenon. I am now in exile because I spread the 5 and 7 characters. This is from the Gosho. I am now in exile because I spread the 5 and 7 characters of Myoho Renge-kyo. So there he's just qualified. Every time he's ever said Myoho Renge-kyo, and everything I've read so far, he was really saying Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Right. That's why he just now stuck the 5 or 7 characters, saying, and where there's not 7 characters in Myoho Renge-kyo. Okay? Okay. Right. He says, okay, now this is cool, because I can relate to this. He says, I am now in exile because I spread the 5 and 7 characters of Myoho Renge-kyo. So I am now going through whatever I go through in my daily life because I too am a Buddha. He continues, I cannot hold back my tears when I think of the great persecution confronting me now. These difficult times confront us all. Yes. Okay? So we will sometimes cry tears that are tears of not joy. They're tears of determination. They're tears that I cannot be defeated. I will not be defeated. I will not forsake my faith. Okay? That really, joy comes in the victory that comes from those tears. If you cry those tears with that in your heart, then the joy of victory will always follow. Those tears will then also follow. So he says, I cannot hold back my tears when I think of the great persecution confronting me now. You think he wasn't frightened at all? This was not fun to be on Sado Island in the circumstance that he was. Or he says, or when I think of the joy of attaining Buddhahood in the future. So he says, thinking about what I'm doing with my life by living through what I'm living through brings tears to my eyes because the truth and the beauty of what it is, and how could I be so fortunate to understand that I have to do this? Okay, so what I'm having to overcome will bring tears to my eyes, and the confidence in why I'm doing what I'm doing also brings tears to my eyes. Birds and crickets cry, but never shed tears. I, Nichiren, do not cry, but my tears flow ceaselessly. I shed my tears not for worldly affairs, but solely for the sake of the Lotus Sutra. So indeed, they are tears. They must be tears of Amrita. Amrita is like this treasure nectar kind of stuff. It's beyond calculation in its value. Nichiren explains at the very end of page 14. Nichiren explains that the two ways of practice and study, which is what we're trying to do here, are the foundation of Buddhist practice. But if I don't practice, my study doesn't mean shit. It means I'm full of shit, frankly. He concludes the letter by encouraging Sairin-bo to exert himself, to practice for self and others, chanting Nam Myoho Renge-kyo for himself and many others. All right, let me put my glasses back on. My tears are dried up. I'm going to go ahead and push through because I got done a little early without anybody around the table to ask questions to. Here we go. We're going to go ahead and push in. This is really the key to this whole writing, though. The requirements of the Bodhisattvas of the earth. You need to be very aware of this. There are requirements. You can't just, it's not a tag that you got because you're a part of the club. Now, going back to the Gosha from page 385, WND 1. Now, no matter what, strive in faith and be known as a votary of the Lotus Sutra and remain my disciple for the rest of your life. If you are of the same mind as Nichiren, you must be a bodhisattva of the earth. Of the same mind as Nichiren, you must be a bodhisattva of the earth. And if you are a bodhisattva of the earth, there is not a slightest doubt that you have been a disciple of Shakyamuni Buddha from the remote past. The sutra states, ever since the long distant past, I have been teaching and converting this multitude. There should be no discrimination among those who propagate the 5 characters of Myoho Renge-kyo in the latter day of the law, be they men or women. Were they not bodhisattvas of the earth, they could not chant the Daimoku. Okay, so there's a lot of surface meaning there. And now, requirements of bodhisattvas of the earth, we're going to get into a real breakdown by Study Chief Saito, quoting President Ikeda. Page 15. In this passage, Nichiren Daishonin explains the requirements for bodhisattvas of the earth. Now, no matter what, strive in faith. Here Nichiren announces our good fortune at encountering Nam Myoho Renge-kyo in this lifetime. Life is in a state of flux from one lifetime to the next. What does that mean? Life is in a constant flux from one lifetime to the next.
What does that mean?
What's it mean? What it means is life, my life, your life, all life, the birds, the flower, every life is in a constant state of change.
Right.
Each moment is creating a circumstance that what preceded it is no longer in existence,
True.
And what will follow it has yet to manifest.
Right.
Okay? Each moment is all that exists.
Yes.
Okay? Since each moment is changing, everything is in constant flux.
Yes.
Okay? So, life is in a state of constant flux from one lifetime to the next. So this thing, this flux aspect doesn't stop. All right? Through this eternal process of death and rebirth, okay, because we're talking about manifest state when we're talking about moment-to-moment consciousness, right? All right. Through this eternal process of death and rebirth, we were born human and encountered the Lotus Sutra in this lifetime. Nichiren reminds us of this rare fortune and encourages us to live as votaries of the Lotus Sutra, believing his teaching and manifesting in our lives the life state that he has. Exactly the same one. That's what we share in common. He says, votaries of the Lotus Sutra, page 16. So he says, you know, declare yourself a votary of the Lotus Sutra. He says, wherever he said it, he says, you know, live to be a votary of the Lotus Sutra is what it's basically. I can't find the exact spot where he just now said that. But okay, now, let's go into breaking what that really is. He says, page 16. Next, let's look at the passage, be known as a votary of the Lotus Sutra. Votaries of the Lotus Sutra are those who live according to the sutra. Those who live according to the sutra, the law that enables all people to attain Buddhahood. So what would that mean? We live according to the teachings of the Gosha. We live according to the teachings of the Lotus Sutra that says that the Bodhisattvas of the earth will manifest in the 500-year period to propagate the great pure law that will bring peace and stability to all inhabitants, Kosen Rufu, for 10,000 years and beyond. Now don't forget, the former day has already been defined as 1,000 years, which is a long time, but not that long. Now the middle day is another 1,000 years, but the latter days forever, dudes. I mean, that's what it is. It doesn't qualify it as such, but 10,000 years and beyond really means like earth until earth burns up. Okay, that's what that means. Okay, so he says again. Next, let's look at the passage, be known as a votary of the Lotus Sutra. Votaries of the Lotus Sutra are those who live according to the Sutra, the law that enables all people to attain Buddhahood. They read the Lotus Sutra. Me, you, when you read this, your life has changed. You're no longer filled with delusion. You understand the truth. There's a point here. He says, okay. They read the Lotus Sutra through their lives. That means through their actions, and even risk their lives to spread it. I know there are many of you that are like this, that are listening to me right now. Congratulations. Encourage others to be that way. Before this passage, Nichiren Daishonin explains that the votary, which is you if you decide to be that, yes, will endure many great trials, heated and pounded. Sages and worthies are tested by abuse. He's saying it very clearly up front. So when it happens, it's saying, dude, you are a dude. It's not saying, oh, you poor son of a bitch. You know, right. It's saying, boy,
you're doing something right.
Who trusts you so much that you can take that much on and still not give up? That's impressive. Okay? That's where you want to be. They read the Lotus Sutra through their lives and even risk their lives to spread it. Before this passage, Nichiren Daishonin explains that the votary will endure many great trials, such as the 3 powerful enemies, in order to spread the sutra. So if you ever want to wonder why Daisaku Ikeda, why Josei Toda, why Tnesaburo Makaguchi live the lives that they've lived, there you go. Be known as a votary of the Lotus Sutra thus means to spread the Lotus Sutra despite great obstacles, to struggle and to win for one's own happiness and that of others. You're really doing it about the Shakabuku effect, not the great, wonderful impact it will have on your life by being the winner in a challenge. You're really winning that challenge for the sake of proving the validity of Buddhahood. Okay? The Lotus Sutra teaches that all people, even Tom, are capable of attaining Buddhahood. I'm not excluded by being who I am. To help them realize that potential, the Buddha appeared in this world and expounded the law. Furthermore, the Lotus Sutra stresses that true bodhisattvas, and he qualifies true bodhisattvas because there's such a thing as people thinking they're bodhisattvas that aren't really bodhisattvas. Okay, they act like they're bodhisattvas, but their internal conviction and the reason why they do what they do are not the same mind as Nichiren, and therefore they are not true bodhisattvas.
Right.
All right? He addresses that true bodhisattvas are those who, as the Buddha's disciples, that's why they do it. Right. They don't do it for any other reason than that's their mission. They made a vow. By God, they're going to fulfill it.
Right.
Fight for all people's enlightenment is not for their enlightenment. They reveal their enlightenment for the sake of allowing others to attain the same enlightenment. Yes. Who are at one with their mentor. Who are at one with their mentor. Who are of the same mind as Nichiren.
Yes.
That's what that's saying. To live by the Lotus Sutra is to have conviction in the existence of one's own Buddhahood. Yes. If you don't believe you're the Buddha, you can never be the Buddha, guys. That's why I won't stop talking about it until I convince all of you that you are exactly as you are. To live by the Lotus Sutra is to have conviction in the existence of one's own Buddhahood. and that of others. That's why I can say it equally to you, just because I've discovered it in myself.
Yes.
And to struggle towards their realization. Realization means manifestation through action. Put simply, it is to fight for Kosen Rufu.
Oh, God. Yes. It's not easy.
Immediately before this passage, Nichiren explains the joy to be derived from propagating the great law and the importance of unselfish dedication to Buddhist practice. Furthering those explanations, he expounds his teaching on the Bodhisattvas of the earth. He expounds his teaching on the Bodhisattvas of the earth. That is, he teaches that those who propagate myoho renge-kyo with altruistic faith. Now, what does that mean? Altruistic faith. That means they're not doing it for any other reason than to help the other guy. They're not doing it to make a good cause to get a benefit. They're doing it because they're already Buddhists. All right? They don't need to go get benefits.
No.
Benefits are living the life they're living.
Yes.
All right? Immediately before this passage, Nichiren explains the joy to be derived from propagating the great law and the importance of unselfish dedication to Buddhist practice. Furthering those explanations, he expounds his teaching on the Bodhisattvas of the earth. That is, he teaches that those who propagate myoho renge-kyo with altruistic faith are true votaries of the Lotus Sutra and Bodhisattvas of the earth. So when he talked about be a votary, that's what he's talking about. The requirements. You got to be of the same mind as Nichiren. You got to be doing it for all the right reasons. You got to be the real deal. You can't be a bunch of bullshit that knows a bunch of stuff. All right? In many writings, Nichiren stresses the challenging of obstacles. Pounding the sword. For example, he writes, one who perseveres through great persecutions and embraces the sutra from beginning to end is the thus come one's emissary. What's the thus come one's emissary? That's the original teacher's original disciples. Okay? That's the thus come one that comes to show you how to be the thus come one, who derived their thus come oneness from another thus come one. It ultimately goes back to the original state. All right? He says, be known, in many writings, and I'll stop here. In many writings, Nichiren stresses the challenging of obstacles. For example, he writes, one who perseveres through great persecutions and embraces the sutra from beginning to end is the thus come one's emissary. That's from the farther the source, the longer the stream, WD 942. In this Gosho, he says to Sairin-bo, be known as a votary of the Lotus Sutra signifies that we must never retreat in faith, no matter what obstacles we face. To be known as the Sutra's votary is to advance while overcoming all obstacles. It's not to go seek an easy, peaceful life, free of challenge, where you're not teaching anybody by being who you are. You can be a nice guy. I know a lot of nice priests. Okay? That doesn't mean any... It's what do you do with your life? That's the living example of living life. Not a bunch of stuff to think about. Okay? If we try to escape rather than overcome an obstacle, we cannot break through our fundamental darkness and reveal the power of myoho renge-kyo. We can't really be the real deal until we quit being afraid to do whatever has to be done.
Yes.
That's it. Because that's what makes us Bodhisattvas of the earth. We never go tight in any lifetime. Can't be done. You can't get me to quit. I'll die. Yes. Before you can make me quit. I'd be happy to die in order to keep you from being, oh my God, my reward for that, come on. Try to intimidate me. You can't kill me. We cannot, therefore, be called votaries of the Lotus Sutra for the latter day of the law. So, President Saito says what President Ikeda can't really say directly because he's qualified so many times to encourage everybody that he's trying to talk to. When we get down to the real deal, unless we're doing the real deal, we cannot, therefore, be called votaries of the Lotus Sutra for the latter day of the law. We are pretend. we're reading this in order to get past that understanding that keeps us from being able to surpass our own egos and become one with the Gohonzon. All right? We become Nichiren's disciple, not who we are. We aren't anything other than Nichiren's disciple. All we care about is that entity that is Nichiren's disciple part of our life. I mean, that's why we have life. All right? And I'll save that for the rest of this. We got about another 33. So we got exactly another 17 pages. So this is the perfect place to stop. Okay? Nichiren's disciple on page 17 is where we will continue. Tomorrow, I'm going to shock you all. I don't want to keep doing this with nobody around the table. So I want to finish this tomorrow. So tomorrow, 3:30, Gongyo and Daimoku, guys that are around the table, that aren't around the table, yeah, we'll be doing it in the same way we did today. And for those of you that catch us online, there will be another finishing of this lecture from the study department and study department chief Saito tomorrow to finish this off. So thank you all for your attention and time, and thank you for coming back. And I hope everybody's been okay, and I hope you stay okay, and stay well, and stay safe.
Thank you.
And thank you.